Finally feeling a bit better, I breathed a sigh of relief and went to grab a drink. That cafe had a bunch of all-you-can-drink soda fountains in the reception area. And related to that was the only bad thing about 37. It was kind of far away from the reception area. When I left my room, the door to 36 was open. Naturally, in order to make my way to the front, I had to go past it. I usually took a peek inside as I walked past, but there was nobody in there. Come to think of it, I had heard someone get up a moment ago. Although there was no one there, I saw a bag on the ground next to the reclining chair. It looked like a school bag, and there was a few toy straps hanging from it. They were Garo Froggies, like the one Nanami had shown me yesterday. There were 3 of them in total. I guess they really were popular. Und warum ist die ganze Zeit J-Pop am Laufen? Well, whatever. It wasn't like I cared either way. Besides, if the person came back and caught me staring, they might have taken me for a pervert or a thief. Realizing that, I decided to just go get my drink. However, right as I went to leave, my eye caught a glimpse of the text on the monitor, and I froze. All things new gen, and if that wasn't enough, it was written in the most sickening font, as if it was trying to freak me out. New gen. I had been deliberately avoiding any and all info about those cases. I really didn't want to know anything more about them, and as long as I kept avoiding them, I couldn't keep telling myself that they had nothing to do with me. Und ich glaube, das ist so ziemlich das einzig Normale, was dieser Charakter bis jetzt gemacht hat. Weil jeder, der irgendwie mit einem Mörder zu tun hat, ne, geschweige denn halt irgendwie den Mörder dann bei frischer Tat sieht, ne, der würde nichts damit zu tun haben wollen, glaube ich. No, forget about that. More importantly, the customer next door to me was looking at the site, lining out everything about New Gen. Was it just coincidence or did it mean something? For a moment, the face of the demon girl flashed through my mind, sending goosebumps across my entire body. I shook my head violently, trying to force those horrible thoughts away. I was just overthinking it. Yeah, I had to be. Nobody was out to get me. I was just being paranoid. Nugent was pretty much all the media talked about lately. By this point, anyone would be interested in it. It was all it was. Yep, no doubt about it. Anyway, I should just go get my drink already, then get back to business. I quickly placed my cup under the dispenser and pressed the cola button. Delicious ice-cold cola started pouring out. It was getting dark outside, which meant the place was going to get really crowded soon. There were already a few customers standing by the front desk waiting to be shown to their rooms, and the darker it got, the more people would show up. In about an hour or so, all the rooms surrounding 37 would fill up. Once that happened, it would be time for me to head home. I took my cup and headed back toward my seat, and on the way I casually glanced down the hall towards the bathrooms. That's when... Es ist die Drittklässlerin. Saw a girl's figure disappeared into the corridor. She had been wearing a Suime uniform and had glasses on her face. I recognized that. It was the same girl that had been tailing me this morning. Girl A. I thought I might have been mistaken, so I hid behind some bookshelves and looked towards the corridor for a while, but she never showed up again. It must have been just my imagination. Yeah, it had to have been. I had only seen her for half a second after all. This place was typically swarming with Suimates girls, and plenty of them wore glasses. But what if it had been Girl A? If she was here, what would that mean? Was it just a coincidence, or had she followed me? I was starting to get a little scared. I left the cafe and started rushing back to my base. In the end, my anxiety had been too much to handle, and I had left almost immediately after I saw the girl. I wanted to get home as soon as possible, but the crowded sidewalks were slowing down. Um, I was feeling sicker and sicker by the minute. I hated crowds. I always felt like people were watching me and snickering. A red pedestrian signal stopped me in my tracks. As I waited for the light to change again, I couldn't help but take a quick look around. I didn't see Girl A anywhere. As soon as I reached the top of Dogen Zaka, walking got a lot easier. Usually I would take the least crowded way back, but after what happened 2 nights ago, I figured I should stick to the main streets, just to be safe. I was stuck at a red light again, so I took another look behind me, but girl A was still nowhere to be found. The girl I had seen at Cafe might have been a different person after all. Feeling a bit relieved, I let my tense shoulder relax a little, then turned back around. Shocked, I took a step back. On the other side on the crosswalk, standing among the crowd, waiting on the light to change, was a girl. Was the girl. And to make matters worse, the gaze beyond those glasses was clearly pointed straight at me. She didn't even try to look away. Her eyes were so intense, it was as if they were urging me to do something. Right then, her glasses flashed white. Maybe they were reflecting the headlights of passing cars. Then I heard a sound. Her lips twisted into a curve, forming a smile that seemed closer to a sneer. Even though we were so far apart, even though there were so many people around, the girl's soft laugh reached my ears, clear as day. If I hadn't heard her so clearly, I would have thought she was simply exhaling. She laughed again. Then she suddenly rolled up the hem of her skirt. What the fuck? Countless shimmering objects fell to the ground and scattered every which way. They looked like crosses, images of the stakes from the crucifixion incident flashed inside my mind. Her expression looked completely insane. Only her lips were smiling, her eyes were bloodshot, and her cheeks twitched erratically. She then shoved through the crowd, leaped onto the crosswalk, despite the fact that the pedestrian signal was still red. What was she thinking? I cowered in fear. I thought about running, but I couldn't move an inch. My legs were practically rooted to the cement. Couldn't even speak. The girl was drawing closer. She was crossing the road, gripping a cross-shaped stick in her hand. Stay back! I made that plea in my head when Girl A's body was sent flying by an oncoming truck. Screams resounded around me. The crowd was blocking my view, so I couldn't see what happened to the girl. But I could tell. She was dead. There was no doubt about it. She was dead. She was lying in a heap on the street, covered in blood, like some kind of sopping, wet, tattered dish rag that was just begging to be thrown away. Thank God, I thought instinctively. So, not that I was proud of myself thinking that way. I suddenly snapped out of it. I was swamped in a sickly cold sweat. The pedestrians had just been screaming and shocked, but now they were calmly waiting for the pedestrian signal to change. There was no truck anywhere in sight. And that girl with the glasses was still on the other side of the street, staring at me just like she had been doing the entire time. Had that been just a delusion? The pedestrian signal turned green. All the pedestrians started crossing at once. I couldn't move, and Girl A didn't move either. She didn't laugh, nor did she roll up her skirt. Nothing like that. She just stood there, staring me down. We were the only ones standing still, as if time had frozen for just the two of us. Why was she just why was she not crossing the street? Why was she just standing there? It was strange, really, really strange. I needed to stay away from her. I should just run. I will just run straight home. Run! Whipping my weak, withered heart into shape, I broke into a sprint. I ran back down Dogenzaka, trying to put as much distance between me and Girl A as I could. On the way, I turned to enter a back alley. And right as I did, I crashed into something and toppled over. Pain shot throughout my entire body. I groaned, not fully understanding what had just happened. The pain was so bad I could hardly stand. Looking up, I saw a big motor scooter lying on the ground. That must have been what I had run into. I gritted my teeth and tried to force myself to my feet, but my legs just weren't able to hold me up. Well, it didn't seem like I had broken any bones at
あ
last.
の、大丈夫ですか？
Before I knew it, Girl A was right in front of me. She was peering into my face, eyes full of concern.
な、
What the hell was up with this girl? My body wouldn't move. As pathetic as it sounds, I was scared shitless. I had no idea what to do. My plan had been to catch a train ride to Shenzhen and get home that way, but now I was starting to regret my life choices.
怪我してませんか？
Girl A asked me timidly. Was she acting all worried so I would drop my guard? You won't fool me. I won't fall for your tricks, you 3D wench.
なんなんだよ。え、ついてくるなよ。僕に何の用だ。
Panicking, I lashed out at Girl A, who just stood there in surprise. I tried scuttling backwards to make some distance, but I was still flat on my ass. If I didn't get away from her, she would reach into her jacket, pull out a knife, and jump me. That was my thought process anyway. That gruesome scene flashed through my mind over and over. All I could think was, that's how I will end up. The girl hung her head, looking a little hurt.
えっと、あの、あなたが急に走り出して様子を見に来たら倒れてたので心配で。でも、今は用事とかあるわけじゃないんですが、あの、その、えっと、
She didn't want anything from me? What? That didn't make any sense.
じゃあ、なんで付きまとってくるんだ。それは、えっと、
She was getting flustered. I just couldn't get over how suspicious she was acting.
私、楠木優愛って言います。
Nobody had asked her to, but she suddenly started introducing herself anyway.
実は、あなたのこと、一目見て、なんとなく、存在が気になって、それで、つい、
What? She had just instinctively started stalking me? The girl, whose name was Yua, apparently kept lowering her gaze as she talked.
ごめんなさい。
She bowed her head vigorously. There's no way. It was the only thing on my mind. Taking another look at her, this Yua girl was pretty cute. I had to give her that much at least. But that was exactly why I couldn't trust her. A 3D girl who wanted to interact with me with good intentions? What kind of arrogance was this? My whole life, nobody had ever said anything like that to me. There was no way I could take her confession seriously. It was just way too out of left field. What? Did she think I would be jumping for joy or something? Did she forget she had been stalking me until just now? Sure, that kind of thing might work in the 2D world, but IRL, it was a certified boner killer. Also, this whole situation was really embarrassing. All I wanted was to get out of here ASAP. Just talking to her made me anxious. 3D really was total dog shit.
僕は三次元に興味はないよ。
え
いや、め、め、め、
I always stuttered when I tried to say something harsh, but I had to be clear. Don't follow me anymore. I don't like it.
迷惑だよ。つきまとわないでよ。
Das ist nicht ganz, was er gedacht hat, glaube ich.
すいません。
She sure looked disheartened. Maybe she had actually meant it. No, don't fall for it. You can't trust anything about 3D, woman. You can only trust 2D. You can trust Seratan far more than this harlot.
もうついてこないでね。僕帰るから。
As I mumbled incoherently, I tried as hard as I could to stand up, but I struggled. My body was still hurting all over the place. My collarbone in particular was being a real bitch. The pain was making me feel kind of dizzy. I might have hit my head when I had fallen down earlier. I almost fell over again, but Yua caught my hand and stopped me.
怪我してるんですね。手貸します。
I tried really hard not to make eye contact. Could feel my face turning bright red. She had definitely make fun of me if she noticed, so I turned away and forcefully shook her hand off. My mind was total blank. I had hardly, if ever, touched a female before, except family members, of course. My heart was beating out of my
お
chest.
家まで送ります。あなたが怪我したのは、私がつきまとっちゃったせいですから。だから、送らせてください。
I felt really happy when Yua asked me that. I wasn't really used to being treated kindly by others. Every other 3D woman I had interacted with before was utterly vile, but this girl, I was actually starting to warm up to her a little bit. But I didn't have the courage to look her straight in the eye. I mean, she had been stalking me, and she also might have been related to the demon girl, and I didn't want to die. All sorts of thoughts flew through my head, but I couldn't focus on any single one of them. My mind was a total blur.
お家どこですか？
深セン。
深セン？
I nodded, before I instantly regretted it. Why the hell had I told her that? Was I expecting something to happen if I did? This had to be one of my delusions. Maybe karma put me on a lucky streak, but just so I could come to beat me down later. Just saw that cliche all the time in anime. This must have been some sort of death flag. Oh god, 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 oh god. Before I knew it, Yua was trying her best to prop me up with her shoulders. Her soft body was tingly pressed against mine, and I could smell a sweet scent coming from her long hair. This couldn't be real. There was no way a 3D girl was being this nice to me.
歩けますか？
I nodded in
じゃあ
response.
行きましょう。
Her voice almost sounded nervous. Then, with my head pointed down at the ground, I slowly started to walk. She had done so much for me at this point. I couldn't turn her down or shake her off anymore. I was out of options. I just had to let her do as she pleased. Leaning on her delicate shoulder for support, the two of us got moving. Neither of us said a word until we reached the building where my base was located. After all, there was no way I could hold a half-decent conversation with a girl, let alone one I didn't know. I knew that the second I would bring up anime or video games, she would automatically go, "Ooh, what a freak," just like every other 3D girl. She wouldn't even bother listening or trying to understand. From my point of view, there was just no point in talking to bitches like that.
ここでもういいから。
That grumble was about all I could muster. I looked at Yua to make sure she understood it. She gave me a gentle nod in response, then removed her arm from under me. I was still a little unstable, but I managed to stand upright.
やっぱりお部屋までついていきましょうか。
I completely ignored her ich kann nicht mehr reden. Suggestion and walked towards the lobby. When I say lobby, but it was really just a narrow entryway to the elevator hall. Still the moment I lifted my foot to start climbing the small staircase leading up to it, a sharp pain ran through me and I nearly fell over again.
大丈夫ですか？
Yua rushed over to support me. Damn it. Why was she still
やっぱ
here?
り部屋まで送ります。絶対送りますから。
She sounded almost desperate. I hated to admit it, but Yua had been a huge help, and in the end, she had taken me all the way back to my base. To get there, first we had to go all the way up to the 8th floor, then take a steep flight of emergency stairs up to the roof, and in my current state, there was no way I could have ever possibly managed that alone. Yua wasn't strong in any sense of the word. She was very clearly running on fumes. Yet she had helped me up the stairs as if her life depended on it.
こんなところに住んでるんですね。
Yua was left speechless when she saw my container house. No surprise there. Normal people probably wouldn't never believe someone could live in a container.
なんか憧れます。
え？
アウトローな感じがしていいですよね。こういうのって。
I never thought she would say something like that. Was she just trying to flatter me or something? You won't fool me, wench. I will never fall for a 3D girl's tricks. With Yua still propping me up, we walked up to the container door, removed the padlock, and stepped inside. Whew, I was finally back. Today was another total catastrophe. This was why you really couldn't beat staying
真っ
indoors.
暗ですね。電気のスイッチはどこに？
Did she really not have any shame just coming into my room like this? I mean, to be fair, she had brought me all the way here on her shoulder. But I really didn't want her seeing the rest of the room if I could help it. I mean, I had dozens upon dozens of figures lined up on my shelf, piles of eroge boxes on my bed, and trash all over the floor.
もういいから、話して。
After I said that, I waited for Yua to let go of me, but she didn't
いい
budge.
か、すごく散らかって。じゃなくて、歩きにくいと思うんですけど、絶対危ないです。ソファーまで行きましょう。そこで話しますから。
In the end, I just kept on doing whatever she said. The couch was covered in CDs and magazines, but Yua quickly cleared them out of the way as quickly as she could while still holding me up anyway. As soon as she was finished, I sat right down. Man, she's just so sweet and caring. Wait, what am I saying? I'm not gonna fall for it. I am not.
平気ですか？
うん。
The two of us were all alone in the room. It was almost pitch black, save for the tiny bit of moonlight shining through the open doorway. As a result, I couldn't tell what sort of expression Yua had on her face. On the bright side, though, hearing a girl breathing in the dark was pretty hot. Come to think of it, it was the first time anyone aside my little sister had ever seen my room, which meant it was the first time I had an actual girl up here. If this were a game, then I would have tripped some sort of flag. After that, soon enough, the mood would turn romantic. Before we knew it, we would be all over each other. That said, I wasn't expecting anything like that. Reality was completely and utter shit. It was nothing like the 2D world. Besides, this Yua girl was normal. She was a stalker, so yeah. Wait, why was she here? Still here? How long was she planning on staying? Her job here was done, so shouldn't she be leaving now? That was when it hit me. Wait, no. Was her plan to get me alone in an isolated spot, then do something horrible to me?
明かりのスイッチは
パソコンの。
パソコン？
The only light source in the room was the desk lamp by my PC. I wanted to tell her to turn that lamp on, but I just couldn't get the words out.
そうか、あのデスクライトですね。
うん。
Yua carefully made her way over to my computer desk, avoiding all the garbage by her feet, then turned on the lamp. And then there was light. The darkness had put all sorts of embarrassing ideas and delusions in my head, and now that I could see Skewer's face clearly, all those fantasies made it hard to look her in the eye without getting even more embarrassed than I already was. Panicked, I couldn't get any words out, so I just kept my head down. Ich finde es ja lustig, wie der PC vorhin aus war und jetzt, wo sie das Licht angemacht hat, ist der PC an. She had shouted so suddenly that goosebumps shot across my skin. Her gaze was pointed straight at the Seiratan figure next to my monitor, who was striking her favorite sexy pose.
これって、プラチューのセイラちゃんですよね。
知ってるの？
はい。プラチューは大好きで、毎週見てます。
へえ。
セイラちゃんがお好きなんですね。私もヒロインの中では彼女が一番好きなんですよ。衣装も可愛いですし。
Her voice was full of joy. She was clearly speaking genuinely. There was no way she would just trying to trick me. Who would have thought? Could you be a...
不女子。
A term for female otaku with a particular interest in yaoi, or works of fiction that depict homosexual relationships between men, does not apply to female otaku as a whole. Okay. Well, maybe she just liked
あ
anime.
れ、 フィギュアって言うんですよね。ちょっと見せてもらってもいいですか？あ、すみません。ずうずうしいこと言っちゃって。もう帰った方がいいですよね。
She bowed repeatedly, clearly flustered.
見ていいよ。
Well, I couldn't say I didn't enjoy her laying the praise on my waifu, so I might as well be a little nice to her.
本当ですか？ありがとうございます。
Kyo took Sarah in her hand and started inspecting her
そ
closely.
それは山陽堂版の覚醒前バージョンなんだ。セーラフィギュアはいくつか種類が出てるけど、最初に出たやつ。
へえ。
あんまりクオリティは高くないよ。顔とか微妙に崩れてるし、ポーズも平凡すぎてあんまりエロくないし。でも、服の胸元部分をキャストオフできるのは今のところそれだけなんだ。
胸元？
ちなみに僕はセーラフィギュアは4種類全部揃えてるよ。そっちの棚に制服バージョンとメイドバージョン、あと水着バージョンがある。
そんなに種類が。すごいですね。
一番評価が高いのはメイドバージョンなんだけど、個人的には水着バージョンも悪くないよ。
Kaum geht es um seine Figuren, kann er plötzlich reden.
そうなんですか。見てみたいですね。でも、ちょっと暗くて。
もうすぐアルファから待望の覚醒後バージョンが出るんだけど、これはかなりクオリティ高そうなんだ。キャストオフも胸元だけじゃなくてほぼ全身可能だっていうし、表情もポーズも質感も言うことなしだね。あとはカラーさえバッチリなら今年発売されたフィギュアの中でも MVP 候補だよ。
アルファ？
Ich habe mich gerade eher gefragt, es gibt einen Figure of the Year. Na gut, wie halt Game of the Year, nur halt für Figurensammler, nehme ich mal an.
メーカーだよ、フィギュアの。
ああ、なるほど。
Suddenly realizing what I had done, I clamped my mouth shut. I had been rambling on for way too long. I had gone off on a tangent about goddamn anime girl figures, removable pieces, sexy poses. I bet I looked like a total idiot to you. I wanted to know what sort of face she was making, but I couldn't bring myself to look at her. Either way, though, it was obvious she must have thought I was a total human trash. I started panicking. My heart was beating out of my chest. I tried to avert my gaze as far as I could.
あの、
But that's when she called out to me and I reflexively turned back to look at her. Her expression, it wasn't actually full of horror and disgust, like I had expected.
さっき言っていた戦闘バージョンとかメイドバージョンも見せてもらっていいですか？
うん。そっちの棚に。
I was totally baffled. There wasn't a hint of anything on her face other than a wide, bright smile.
わあ、すごいですね。こんなにたくさん。
In fact, her eyes were sparkling as she looked at my shelves full of figures. No way, were there actually 3D women that weren't disgusted by this stuff? It must have been a 1 in a billion chance, but I suppose there were billions of people in the world.
あ、メイドセイラちゃんってこれですね。ふむふむ。アニメの印象とはちょっと違うけど、すごく可愛いです。下着までちゃんと作り込んであるんだ。こういうの実物で見たのは初めてですけど、いいですね。私も買ってみようかな。
だったら、覚醒後バージョンを予約した方がいいよ。あれは絶対おすすめだから。
そうですね。あなたの話を聞いていたら、その覚醒後バージョンは本気で欲しくなりました。覚醒後って12話のあのシーンのことですよね。
よく知ってますな、お主。かなりのマニアですな。
はい、好きですから。 特にあの時の覚醒シーンは毎日録画したものを見返してます。
あのシーンって演出と作画宮地なんだ。だからクオリティ高くて当然。
宮地？
そういう神クリエイターがいるんだ。あの人の演出はマジで神だよ。アットちゃんの実況版でも神来たってなるし。
Es gibt natürlich auch Anime-Fans, die genau wissen, wer was animiert oder gezeichnet hat in Anime. Da hatte ich letztens erst ein Video über Dragon Ball drüber gesehen, wo die tatsächlich verschiedene Zeichenstile und Varianten nachgebildet haben, nach den verschiedenen Animatoren, die dran waren zu gewissen Zeitpunkten der Serie. Und ganz ehrlich, ich habe niemals, während ich das normal geguckt habe, jemals irgendeinen Unterschied gemerkt damals. Und ich wüsste auch gar nicht, wie man jetzt grundlegend das wirklich unterscheidet, dass das eine anders von einem anderen Typen gemacht worden ist als das andere. Also ich könnte das gar nicht erkennen, ehrlich gesagt.
そうなんですか。すごく知識が豊富なんですね。私、スタッフが誰かなんてまるで気にしてませんでした。
監督と演出と脚本はチェックしとくといいよ。特に新作なんかはそれを調べるだけで内容の良し悪しが大体予測できるし。
Das stimmt. Ist ja ähnlich wie bei Spielen. Wenn man weiß, von wem es gemacht ist, im Grunde genommen, weiß man, ob das Spiel dann relativ gut wird, anhand von dem, was sie davor gemacht haben. Nur als Beispiel, bei Atlus gibt es ja das eine Team, was Persona 5 gemacht hat, was jetzt auch Metaphor ReFantasio gemacht hat. Und dann gibt es das Team, das hat Soul Hackers 2 gemacht. Das hat davor Tokyo Mirage Sessions gemacht. Es ist von der Qualität her relativ ähnlich.
わかりました。今度からそうしてみますね。
As Yura said that, she turned to face me with another lovely smile. I had made a girl smile. I never thought I would see this kind of eroge stuff happen IRL, let alone to me. Usually, 3D women, including my little sister, only ever smiled when they were making fun of me. There had to be some kind of catch. There was just no other explanation. I couldn't forget what Seratan had told me. Till then, you can't trust anyone. Don't listen to anything that anyone says.
え、
こんなこと聞いていいかどうかわからないんですけど。
何？
Yua got all shy out of nowhere. She was looking down and avoiding eye
聞
contact.
かせてもらってもいいでしょうか。あなたのお名前。
名前？
Now that she had mentioned it, Yua had introduced herself to me, but I had never returned the favor.
西條匠。
I was a little embarrassed, so I ended up weakly mumbling it out.
西條匠くんですね。何年生？
あ、2年。
私は3年。私の方が年上さんですね。
Oh man, I was getting dizzy from how moe that sounded. Could Yua be the kinda older sister type? David tried to seduce me and shit. This woman was dangerous. She must be up to something.
それで西條くんにお願いがあるんです。
Wobei, in dieser Situation ist es nicht keine negative Delusion, die der Typ haben will, sondern eher die positive Delusion, oder? A request? Seriously?
私、あなたのことが好きなんです。ずっと西條くんのこと見てました。もう見てるだけじゃ 嫌なんです。
Yua's face turned bright red, and right after her sudden confession, she abruptly started undressing. I was so bewildered, I could hardly bring myself to even peek at her. But when I did, I noticed she wasn't just taking off her top, but also her skirt. Her underwear flickered in and out of sight from beneath the hem of her blouse. It was black. Aber soweit ich das gerade sehen kann, ist das, was wir vorhin ausgewählt haben, wahrscheinlich. Sie hat ja eine Brille auf. Dementsprechend ist das wahrscheinlich gerade ein Swimsuit mit ihrer Brille. Diese Phasen sind schon echt ein halber Fiebertraum. Ich nehme mal an, wenn ich jetzt rot genommen hätte, würde sie mich wahrscheinlich umbringen oder sowas. Being so bold, despite being clearly embarrassed, sure, it was a huge turn-on for me, but things were happening so suddenly, my mind could hardly keep up. It took all my strength just to swallow the salvia that had built up in my mouth. Next, Yua started fiddling with her buttons on her blouse. She was undoing them one by one, from the top to the button. Then, almost as if trying to tease me, she slowly, ever so softly, dropped her blouse to the floor, and for some reason underneath it, she was wearing a competition swimsuit. It was a high-leg swimsuit. It was skin-tight. With the way it pressed in on her body, a little bit of her tights split out of the edges. So the dark-colored panties I had caught glimpses of earlier were actually a swimsuit? Man, how did a girl this timid have boobs this huge? And another thing, she didn't take her knee-high socks off. DJ, that's the right choice. Wow, dieser Otaku-Lob von ihm, was ist DJ? Good job. Okay, good job. Also, das ist das von vorhin mit der Figur. But
私のこと好きにしてください。
Uff.
めちゃくちゃにしていいですから。
Uff.
No.
I was speechless. It was pretty strange for a 3D girl to say all the stuff to a guy she had just met. No sane girl would do that. Surely it was sexy, but it wasn't even remotely moe. My sense of reason threatened to completely shatter right then and there, and I struggled desperately to keep it contained. Ganz ehrlich, dein sense of reason is way off grad.
だが断る。
Okay. While I was lost in my usual delusions, Yua suddenly had a huge fall and landed flat on her rear. She rubbed her butt, but while on the verge of tears.
すみません。CD を踏んづけちゃったみたいです。ケース割れたかも。本当にごめんなさい。私、きちんと片付けますから。
いいよ。
Just get out of here already. You've done enough. And what the hell was that request you mentioned earlier? Yua started cleaning up the trash and CD cases lying all over the floor, even though I told her that she didn't have to. She looked so apologetic, it almost made me feel guilty, like I had done something wrong.
じゃあ、足の踏み場だけでも、確保させてください。すいません。その後でお願い言いますから。
Okay, sie hat den Request noch nicht gesagt. Ich dachte gerade, ja, du hättest den Request wahrscheinlich gehört, wenn du nicht irgendwelche Delusions gehabt hättest. With the way she had just instantly started cleaning up and thoroughly at that, she reminded me somewhat of my mom. Not caring in the slightest about what may cause problems for other people. Rushing straight into doing whatever she pleased, you know? The typical meddler. In that case, I should probably start helping her, shouldn't I? We both reached for a piece of trash At the same time, our hands would touch and we would both say, ah. Then we would stare into each other's eyes, just soaking in the glow of the moment, right? Ich glaube weniger. Wrong! The fuck do you think this is? Some kind of rom-com? No way in hell was I helping her. While in the middle of piling up magazines, Yua suddenly stopped. Her back was turned so I couldn't tell what she had just picked up.
いえ、気にしないでください。
What was she getting so nervous about? Something about it made me suspicious. Die hat wahrscheinlich eine Eroge aufgehoben oder so. Come to think of it, she was essentially ransacking my room at this point. What if she was trying to steal something? Maybe she was thinking that I had so many figures I wouldn't notice if one went missing? But little did she know she was dead wrong. I would perfectly memorize every single waifu on my shelf. If even a single one went missing, I would be able to tell in a nanosecond.
フィギュアには触らないでね。
はい。いえ、違うんです。その、村中の同人誌っていうんですか？それが落ちてまして、ちょっと中身を見てみたら。
My blood-hewn doujins? Shit, they are all porn!
すごかったので、びっくりしました。
勝手に見ないでよ。
すいません。
Yua began tidying up again, nervous as ever. Shortly after, she quickly cleared a space to sit down and then turned toward me.
それで、さっき言ったお願いですけど。
Finally! I gulped, then instinctively braced myself for
さ
impact.
っき言ったフィギュアの予約、一緒に行ってもらえませんか？私、そういうアニメショップみたいなところって今まで行ったことなくて。で、私、なんだかすごくぶしつけなお願いしてますよね。すいません。私のせいで西条くんは怪我をしたのに。
This was some dangerous territory. I couldn't afford to just blurt out an answer. On one hand, Yua and I had shared interests. Hell, she was even a fan of Seira. She also seemed very interested in what I had to say, which meant she was someone I could get along with as an otaku. But on the other, it had to be some sort of trap. There was just no way in hell something like this, something so perfect, would actually happen to me in real life. It was an eroge cliché, nothing more. I couldn't let 3D corrupt me. Think, Takumi, think. What the hell could yours true goal be?
すいません。今のお願いは忘れてください。私、西条くんがいろいろ話してくれるのが、嬉しくて。
Yua sat there with her head hung low. Pretty much every 3D girl ever was insanely full of themselves, and meanwhile, this girl was remarkably timid. And there was no way a 3D girl could be so pretty and have such a cute personality. Everyone knew that, meaning she had to be faking it. I would turn her down. I would gather all my strength, all the power vested in me as a man, and shoot her down. As Yua looked back at me, I saw tears welling up behind her glasses. Wait, was she crying? Was it because I wasn't saying anything? I had just made her cry? Oh no, give me a break. What a life or death situation. I had never experienced anything like this outside of video games. My heart was pounding out my chest. I was even starting to feel a little guilty. They say that women weaponize their tears, but only now was that really starting to ring true for me. Honestly, I had absolutely no clue how to deal with it. I was getting more and more nervous by the second. We can go together, I tried to say, but ultimately I couldn't bring myself to. Because if I did, Surely she would just say something like, "Ooh, this dumbass actually took it seriously? What a freak!" Call it a persecution complex. But that was how I felt. I just couldn't do it.
無理してくれなくていいです。私のわがままに石城君を付き合わせるのは良くないですし。
Her eyes seemed to even more wet than before. I saw a single tear dripping out from the corner of her eye.
行くよ。
言ってもらえるんですか？
I had no choice but to nod. I couldn't think of any other way to make her stop crying. Still, it felt like I was stepping right into a trap. Yua seemed incredibly relieved. She took a deep breath, took off her glasses, and wiped away her tears.
断られて当然だと思ってたのに。石城君、ありがとうございます。
Ooh, she was thanking me? Seemed like I had been able to stop her from completely breaking down. Maybe I should be the one thanking her. Shit, how did I get myself into such a mess? Goddamn 3D woman. You can never let your guard down around them.
行くとしたらいつがいいでしょう。
Hold on, where the hell had her sad-looking expression gone? Only a second had passed and she was already looking happy as a clam? Those really were crocodile tears, weren't they? If so, she should win a fucking Academy
セイ
Award.
ラちゃんの新しいフィギュアはもうすぐ発売なんですよね。
うん。きっとすぐに完売しちゃうだろうね。
だったら早めに行った方が良さそうですね。明日とか。
According to my schedule, I need to go to school tomorrow, so made it 3 times the total this week. Then the week after, I had only have to go twice. I had a feeling that tomorrow was going to suck even more than usual, but I had already told Yua I would go with her. If I tried changing my mind now, she would start the waterworks all over again. Ugh, I really had no choice here, huh?
わかったよ。
I was incredibly reluctant, but still I agreed. Yua seemed happy to hear that. But she couldn't fool me with that face of
西
hers.
城君は何組？明日放課後に迎えに行きますよ。
B 組。
2年 B 組ですね。じゃあ授業が終わったら待っててください。
I nodded quickly in response, hoping that would make her leave faster. Er hat das echt nicht durchdacht, ne? Das heißt, dass sie wahrscheinlich bei seiner Klasse auftaucht und der Womanizer, mit dem er befreundet ist, total überrascht sein wird, dass ein Mädchen auf ihn wartet. Wait, I had just made a promise to hang out with a girl? Was this a dream? A delusion? I pinched my cheek to test that theory. It definitely hurt.
それじゃあ長い間お邪魔しちゃってすいませんでした。足もし痛かったらお医者さんに行ってくださいね。
あ、うん。
I sat on the couch and watched Yua leave. She turned around and waved goodbye, then exited out the front door.
西城君、また明日。
また明日だってさ。しかも手を振ったりして。
I felt like I was about to melt with bliss, so I quickly stiffened back up.
あの女絶対僕に惚れてる。間違いないね。
Ich glaube eher nicht so.
ま、付き合うか付き合わないかは僕に選択肢があるわけだし、あの女を情け容赦なく振ってやるさ。お前は僕の女にふさわしくない。セイラよりいい女になって出直してこい。まあ、一生無理だけどな。何しろセイラは永遠の17歳だからな。みたいな。
Wow. There was no way any girl could ever be better than Seiratan. I picked up the Seira figure and rubbed her against my cheek, and Seiratan couldn't have looked happier.
おっと、時間か。今のところテストに出るからな。ちゃんとノート書いておけよ。今日はここまで。
Okay, ich würde sagen, das ist ein guter Zeitpunkt, um einen Cut zu setzen, weil wir gerade diesen schönen Abend hatten und jetzt quasi es ohne Unterbrechung weitergeht. Das Problem mit diesen Spielen ist ja, dass es nicht wirklich irgendeine gute Pause, sag ich mal, gibt, ne? Dementsprechend, ich mache erst einen Quick Save und dann einen normalen Save. Wir sind scheinbar Chapter 1, Eyes in Eyes.